Story 1. The Cursed Painting. James found an old painting at a garage sale depicting a dark, stormy night. He hung it in his living room, captivated by its eerie beauty. But soon after, he noticed the scene in the painting began to change. Lightning struck, and shadows moved within the frame. Every night, the storm seemed to grow fiercer, the shadows more defined. One evening, James heard thunder rumbling from the painting and saw a figure emerging from the canvas. The next morning, the painting was empty and James was gone, leaving only a pool of water on the floor. Advice: be cautious of art that evokes too strong an emotion. Sometimes what you see may not be just paint and canvas. If something about an object feels too intense or unsettling, it's best to leave it behind.
Story 2. The Phantom Touch. Lisa moved into a quaint, old apartment with a peculiar history. The previous tenant had vanished without a trace. Not long after settling in, Lisa began feeling cold touches on her skin, as if someone was brushing past her. The sensations grew stronger, becoming more like a firm grip. One night, she awoke to find handprints on her arms, as though someone had held her down. Terrified, she tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. The next morning, she was found unconscious, with no memory of the night before. Advice: pay attention to the history of a place before you move in. Sometimes the past lingers in ways that are not visible. If you feel an unwelcome presence, trust your instincts and seek help immediately.
Story 3. The Disappearing Footsteps. Tom and his friends were hiking in a remote forest when they came across an old, abandoned cabin. Despite the eerie silence, they decided to explore. Inside, they found footprints leading from the door to a closet, but none leading out. As they investigated, the door slammed shut and the sound of footsteps echoed around them. Panicked, they tried to leave, but the footprints began to appear on the floor, coming closer and closer. Tom was the last to leave, but as he looked back, he saw a figure standing where the footprints had stopped. Advice: when exploring unfamiliar places, always be prepared to leave quickly if things feel wrong. Some places are better left untouched. Listen to your instincts and avoid pushing your luck in areas that seem too quiet or too empty.
Story 4. The Whispering Phone. Megan started receiving strange calls at midnight from an unknown number. Each time she answered, she heard whispers that grew louder with every call. The voice spoke in a language she didn't understand, but it filled her with dread. She tried blocking the number, but the calls continued, and the whispers became screams. One night, the voice told her to look outside. When she did, she saw a shadowy figure standing by her window, holding a phone. The next morning, Megan's phone was missing, and so was the figure. Advice: be cautious with unknown callers, especially if they persist and make you uncomfortable. Not every voice on the other end is human, and some calls are better left unanswered. If you feel threatened, take steps to protect yourself.
Story 5. The haunted toy Anna found an old Jack-in-the-Box at a flea market and bought it for her daughter. Despite its age, it worked perfectly, but every time it popped open, it played a distorted, eerie tune. One night, the toy activated on its own and the lid slowly creaked open. The figure that emerged was not the cheerful clown she expected, but a sinister, twisted version of it. The next day, Anna's daughter wouldn't stop talking about the new friend she played with in her room. Alarmed, Anna tried to throw the toy away, but it always reappeared. Advice: be careful when buying toys or items for children from unknown sources. Some objects may carry dark histories or energies that are not suitable for anyone, especially children. Always trust your gut feeling when something doesn't seem right. Story 6. The Endless Corridor. Ben was exploring an old, abandoned hospital with a group of friends. As they wandered through the hallways, they came across a long, dimly lit corridor that seemed to stretch on forever. They decided to walk down it, but the further they went, the longer it seemed to become. far they walked, they never reached the end. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. Ben turned to head back, but the entrance had vanished, leaving them in an endless loop. Only Ben was found, wandering alone, his friends never seen again. Advice: when exploring abandoned places, always have an exit plan and stick together. Some places have ways of trapping you in ways you can't anticipate. Never venture too deep into the unknown, and always be aware of your surroundings. Story 7. The Possessed Mask. During Halloween, Rachel found an old, intricately designed mask at a vintage shop. The shopkeeper warned her it was not to be worn, but she dismissed the warning as superstition. That night, she wore the mask to a party, but as the night went on, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. She tried to remove the mask, but it wouldn't budge. The mask seemed to fuse with her skin, and she could hear voices whispering in her head. As she panicked, her reflection showed the mask's face had become her own. The mask was found the next day, but Rachel was nowhere to be seen. Advice: beware of items with unknown origins, especially those worn on the body. Some objects carry more than just aesthetic value. They might hold powers that are beyond your control. Always heed warnings and avoid using things that feel off or unsettling.